Good evening. How's everyone doing this evening? Thank you for taking the time to join us. I am reading some of the chats already that are coming in, so uh, keep me honest. I will do my best to keep track of those as we go through everything. But just to get us kicked off with some stats. So this was pulled today on not February 18th, but March 18th. Uh, of 2025. Wow, way off. We have 512 licensed coaches, so we're up 8 overall. That we added 2 female coaches and we added 6 male coaches, and then we added 7 more riders. So here we are already approaching event number 3, and we have more new riders coming in. So 1 was a high school and 6 were middle school. And we have added another 364 and some change hours in TTC. So we've got right now almost 2,500 hours, which is pretty awesome. And that leads us into our trail week, which is going on now. And our goal is 1,500 hours this week of trail work. And so all of those hours need to be logged by 11:59 p.m. on the 24th. So make sure that you get those hours in so that you get credit for them in Trail Week. Shell, was there anything that you wanted to add about Trail Week?
So we do have a 3x3 custom Trail Week sticker for any student athlete who participates and logs at least 1 hour during Trail Week. But we also have some pretty cool prizes for hours overall for the season as well, that are listed in the Teen Trail Corps coach resources. So check those out. There's new gloves, there's a water bottle, t-shirt, lots of cool stuff for them to earn.
Cool. Excellent. Brian Russell, you have your hand raised.
Yeah, because I just went through the season award flag inventory from TC Screen Printing. The top team also gets a flag, Trail Week champion flag, and a cool like Minecraft outdoors theme type of thing to hang in the pit zone. So go
Cool.
teams, go get
All
them.
right. Some other deadlines that are approaching. So this Friday is going to be the deadline for category petitions for event number 3, which is Anglers Ridge. So Anglers Ridge is going to be event number 3, and that is going to be from March 29th through the 30th. So this week is our weekend before the storm, and then the next weekend is the event. And then here's where we start double and triple stacking. So the next weekend, April 5th through the 6th, is the rain date in Mayodan for the canceled event number 2 that was at NC Car. So competition event number 2 will be April 5th and 6th. That will be in Mayodan. That's rain date number 1. But there will be no category petitions considered for that race weekend. April 4th, that Friday, is the deadline for category petitions for event number 4 on April 12th through the 13th in Browns Creek. So think of it as we kind of went through a wormhole to do event number 2, and so it's still in its original time, and we've gone past the deadline for category petitions and plopped it in the middle of these other weekends. So 3 back-to-back weekends of racing from March 29th through the 30th, April 5th and 6th, and then April 12th and 13th. Then April 18th, that Friday, is going to be the deadline for category petition for event number 5. And that's the final race at Mayodan. And that will be from April 26th through the 27th. And then we'll have the state championships at Anglers Ridge Park. Whatever category you're in for that final race of the 5 race series will be your category for state championships. There will not be any category upgrades before state championships, if that makes sense to everyone. Are there any questions about that? All right. I feel like I got to just buckle up because there's going to be 3 back-to-back weekends of racing. That's going to be a prolonged NICA hangover for sure. Then after that, you can see that we have the tentative dates for our fall coach training weekends, those combined WFA OTBS 101 training weekends. WFA will be on the Saturday date, and then OTBS 101 will be on the Sunday date. No locations as of yet, similar to what we had last season. Kind of the main sort of areas where we get the most coach kind of density will be very similar. If you have a suggestion for a new place or some place that's close to you that you think would work, let me know, and I'll be more than happy to take that into consideration as we start to plan these things out. All right. Then the other thing I wanted you to be aware of is that we will do another round of coach supporter trainings, and that will be that first weekend. So the first weekend on the Saturday, the coach supporter training is done, and then that Sunday is sort of the practical whenever they are leading some of the trainings for the OTBS 101s that are held on that Sunday, and that sort of gets them certified. So if you have people in mind that you would like to have considered to be coach supporters, just let me know, and I will put them on the list and reach out to them as the time is appropriate. All right. Some more dates for you to look at. So the Online Leaders Summit, those dates have been published, and there is a complete list there, as well as I have given you the link for information and registration here. This is for anyone that is trying to get to level 3. They have to go through an Online Leader Summit. You don't have to do it all in one continuous week. So if you wanted to do one of the 5 modules each week, you can, but it's 5 total modules that have to be completed as whatever time schedule works out best for you, if that makes sense. All right. Are there any questions about those dates? Awesome. You guys know the drill. Perfect. All right. So let's talk a little bit about the main topic, and that is the rain date. So NCCAR unfortunately had to be canceled due to weather conditions that we were seeing in the forecast, and knowing that that venue was not going to stand up to rain on Sunday and be raceable, and knowing that it was going to be a big lift for a lot of teams to actually pull off a one-day event on Saturday, we made the call to postpone the event and activate the first rain date. With that being said, all the registrations from NCCAR have been moved to the Mayodan event on April 5th and 6th, and there's not going to be any refunds or other transfers for that event. So these dates were kind of published ahead of time, and so it was always a possibility that that was a date that would be activated. So if you have questions about that, Brian, I know that you can field those questions, but just opening it up now if anyone has any questions about that. All right. That was easy. So, a couple of new things to be aware of, especially head coaches and team directors. You may be getting a question about this. So, NICA has done a newly designed athlete abuse awareness training, and that went live on March 15th. So, if you took the existing course before March 15th, you are good for your 2 years. Like it's not like all of a sudden we've got a new course and you got to take it again. So if you got it done before March 15th, you're good for your 2 years. If you took it prior to March 1st, there's a little quirk that you need to be aware of. And so you may have some coaches that get concerned. So this is from my Pit Zone account. So you can see here that I have athlete abuse awareness. I've got the green check. That means I'm good. It's not red, which means it's expired. But then you can see in the courses cards, in that where you go into Pit Zone to actually take the courses, you can see that where it says athlete abuse awareness training, it says 0% complete. So as long as I have a green check, I'm good. The next time I need to renew my athlete abuse awareness training, it will be under this new module that currently says 0% complete. I know that's like a little weird, but I just want you all to be aware of that, so that if coaches freak out, or if you're a team director and you start noticing this kind of disparity, you understand what the problem is. All right. Are there any questions about that? All right. There's a new resource for teams, and it's behavior management. I give you some bullet points here of what it's kind of entails, but I know some of you have even made some conversations with me at the first event about having some more difficult student athletes that you're not used to dealing with some behaviors. And so this could really be helpful for those of you that are seeing this, but it's also just good reference for all of us to just sort of read through and be aware of what's there. And I would highly recommend you follow the link and get to all of that. Those bullet points are just sort of like the meat and potatoes of what it was, sort of the TLDR, if you're not sure if you want to dig into it too much further. But that is kind of the important stuff there. And so NICA is doing a really good job of like trying to address things that I think we've all felt maybe, as a teacher, I was equipped with certain things, but if you're coming from something different from education, you might not be aware of like all the different behaviors and how to deal with those. And it's good for all of us too, just to have this awareness of what's going on. And so I think this is especially good because it's geared towards like team culture, which is not something that we see so much with classrooms. So I think this would be of benefit to all of us to just kind of go through, take a look at, and then have it in your hip pocket if the need arises for you to kind of pull some of those tricks out. Then there's been a NICA policy change that I wanted everyone to be aware of. And this is for student athletes only. This is not for adults, but for student athletes only. There's now the one-time waiver is actually a 3-time waiver. And so it always felt kind of strange, like we are going to do a try it out thing, but you can only do it one time and then you've got to commit. And so now NICA has realized, like, let's kind of change this up a little bit. And the one-time waiver is now a 3-time waiver. It is important though that you really dig into this, because they are very clear in what they're talking about. So here's some bullet points from the document that they really want you to be using the digital document for waivers. And that's because all of those are going to NICA National. And so they're keeping records of that. If for whatever reason you are going to be having an event at a place that doesn't have connectivity, or there's just going to be connectivity issues, you can use those paper waivers, but you have to make digital copies and you have to submit those to Brian and you have to submit those to NICA National. So there's a bit more follow up on your end if you're using the paper style waivers. And you can see the full guidance and some assets for recruitment events and other things at the link that I provide right here. And then the last kind of update for team directors and head coaches. Now in Pit Zone, you can assign lead roles for coaches for TTC, Grit, and Adventure Coach. So whereas previously we were asking you to send that information to Shell so that she would have a record of what coaches were what, in Pit Zone now, as the team director or head coach, you can go into the team roles and edit the team role for a coach and designate them as the Grit Coach lead, the team trail core lead, or the adventure coach lead. You can have more than one if you have more than one involved, but it's a way for you to do that. And then we can pull all of that data from our Pit Zone coach data dumps. And that eliminates that need of having to communicate back and forth with Shell anytime you make a change. All right, so those were some big things. Are there any questions, or would anybody like more information about any of that stuff?
Hey, Sean, this is Chris. Regarding the 3-time waiver, is that something that's in effect now?
It is in effect now, yes.
Okay, because interestingly, we do have some student athletes that are interested in potentially joining the team or asking about it, and it might be a good opportunity for them to get the feel of it. So that's super cool that they're doing that, and I'm glad it's in place now. Thanks.
Yeah, I really encourage you to follow that link because it's a very thorough document about like how to hold a recruitment event and all those sorts of things. So I think there's a lot of stuff in there that's more than just like, oh yeah, now you can do a waiver 3 times. So I really encourage everybody to go do that that's thinking about doing some sort of recruitment event. And then I've got a question in the chat. What level coach do they need to be for grit and TTC? So Shell, as our director of programs, I'm going to turn that over to you.
They can be a level 1 coach. They should have probably 1 season under their belt, ideally, so they have a solid understanding of how the league works, risk management expectations, and things like that, and some familiarity with the program.
So licensed coach, at least 1 season. I think that's pretty good guidelines. Other questions? All right. So to kind of close out, we've talked about this before, but it was notable in that on February 4th, James Reason passed away at the age of 86. And he was the person who came up with the Swiss cheese model of accidents. And so here I give the diagram from his paper that he wrote. The Swiss cheese model of failure is a metaphor for analyzing and preventing accidents that envision situations in which multiple vulnerabilities and safety measures, the holes in the cheese, align to create a recipe for tragedy. There's a great article in the New York Times about his life. He sounded like a pretty interesting cat. He was born in England in the 1930s, and actually his father died when he was about 2 years old, when he was playing cards in the bay window of their house in England, and he was hit in the head with a piece of shrapnel, apparently from some battle overhead in World War II. So I think that kind of set him on a path for like random accidents and how they happen. But the big thing for you to kind of take away from this, I think, is that he talks about how the holes develop. And so he puts them in 2 categories. There's active failures of mistakes. They're typically made by people. And there's latent conditions or mistakes made in construction, written instructions, or system design. And it's these things kind of aligning that causes big accidents, big failures. And so I think when we talk about this as we go through the season, I kind of am starting to try and say, like, be the cheese. And I want you to think about like you stopping the small thing that can balloon into a big thing. And it's that series of like letting little things slip by that creates the conditions for a big thing to happen and a big bad thing to happen. But I want you to mainly take away that we can all kind of have a part in that prevention of accidents. And that's, I think, a big way that we should look at risk management. And there's a link there to the book that he wrote. It's his autobiography, A Life in Error from Little Slips to Big Disasters. All right, that's what I have for you this evening. Is there anything else that we need to talk about or that anyone wants to put forward on the table?
I have
Hey,
one.
this is Erin. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
This is Erin with IC Imagine. I am trying to figure out how to find my individual athlete team trail core hours.
Shell, do you know how
Yeah.
to look that up?
If you look at Pit Zone and you're looking at your overall team in Pit Zone, Team Trail Core hours should show in the far right column where your student athletes are listed.
Yeah, I'm looking for the individual team. And so, like, how do I let them know that they've got their 5 hours? And so I'm not really we keep putting them into the Pit Zone, but we're not keeping the paper that we wrote everything down on. And so I want to be able to let them know when they've achieved their goals for some of the things, and also just to talk about it for our team.
Yeah, it should show those individual hours in that
It
far
does.
right column, but I will
It
actually.
does. I validated it does show it if you scroll all the way to the right for a coach or a student athlete.
Okay, I'll look at it again. I was there today, and all I could see was my total hours, but I'll go there again.
Bill Berry has his hand raised.
Hey, Sean, going back to the waivers, it looked like I was chasing the links. It looks like this is a new link to a new, because it's the additional information, I assume, that's needed for medical release, to be used for the 3-time thing. What should adults use that are potentially coming with the student athletes?
So adults, if I'm not mistaken, are still going to use the same waiver. They can only use it one time though.
Okay. And you don't need the additional information about medical release and emergency contacts and things.
I don't believe so, but Brian, do you have any further guidance on that one?
So absolutely true. Adults are still one-time waiver. I don't know the answer to the second question. So Sean, if we could follow up with Nike on that.
All right.
It's a good question. Yeah.
Will
might
do.
be a gap in the policy.
If team directors would not mind checking their email for a Trek fundraiser email from me, Nike National needs your payment distribution information, and we need to submit that ASAP.
Shell wants to give you your money.
Yes, please.
Help her give you the money.
Trying to give them money last year, so
Brian wants to keep your money, so up to you. So
Brian by default gets to keep your money if that information is not provided.
Not Brian personally. Let's be clear. All right. Other questions?
Yes, Sean. The league will employ those funds appropriately. Absolutely correct.
Are there any other questions or topics that we should discuss? All right. We will continue with our Tuesday coaches calls following the events. So we'll just stay on that schedule. If there's anything that we need to discuss, we'll have it ready for you then. And other than that, I think this has been the shortest coaches call yet. So I'm going to end the recording here.